of traveling into the distant future or the distant past has often appealed to us as we strive to know more about mankind and how we managed to survive for as long as we have. What will the world look like in 200 years? What would you say to your younger self if you were to meet? How accurate are some of the most important stories from history? Scientists claim to have put theories of time travel to rest, claiming that it's entirely impossible. Theologists also chime in to say, what's done is done. You can't rewrite history. However, some people still argue that time travel may be possible and that we could have already met a time traveler at some point in the past. Today, we present to you 10 photos that may prove time travel exists. If you could travel back in time to any point in history, when would it be? What would you hope to see there? Share your story in the comments. Is this 1930s painting evidence of time travel? This work is a famous painting from 1937, which was named Mr. Pynchon and the Selling of Springfield. At first glance, it doesn't reveal anything too unusual. It shows a scene from colonial times as an Indian sits in a boat and looks like he's having a good time. It looks like he's probably about to transport a large load of cargo in his boat. But what is he looking at? It can hardly be denied that the object in his hands looks like a smartphone. The dark spot on the back even looks like the lens of the camera. Though this would be impossible, right? What is the man holding in his hand? A stone tablet or a kind of sculpture? Maybe even a compass? It's too difficult to say for sure, but theories have been running wild since this painting debuted online several years ago, especially since he's the only person with an object like this. All the other Indians in the area are staring around, waiting to depart. Is this truly a time traveler with a smartphone? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is Greta Thunberg a time traveler? Whether you love her or hate her, I'm sure all of us know who Greta Thunberg is by this point. The teenager has been making the headlines for over a year now. Even though she's still very young, Greta has dedicated her life to proving the impact of climate change and what it may mean for humanity if major changes aren't made in our day-to-day lives. She's very adamant about her position and isn't afraid to stand up against major politicians to let her voice be heard. Some people jokingly claim that she's a time traveler who has come from the future to save our planet. This may sound completely ridiculous, but it's not as crazy as some of the other theories we've heard over the years about lizard people running the government. However, this strange theory about Greta is actually backed up by some photographic evidence. Take a look at this photo and let us know what you think in the comments. We know that people can look alike, but this 120-year-old photo shows a girl looking for gold who looks a lot like Greta Thunberg. Does Greta's mission to save the planet go this far back in time? If that is the case and this photo is proof, she's obviously not only active in today's world, but may travel far back in time to let her voice be heard as well. But if this is true, why are the ice caps still melting? Is John Travolta from the past? This photo has recently shown up on eBay where someone was putting it up for sale. It's supposed to be the ultimate proof that John Travolta is also a time traveler. At first, you might think it's not that special that someone looks like John Travolta but was born many years ago. But there's something truly strange about this photo. The person in the photo doesn't just look like John Travolta, it seems like he's the exact same person. The two have the same exact eyes, the same hairline, and even the same chin structure. In addition, John Travolta is a fairly mysterious man anyway, which has only reinforced this theory now that John has become so deeply involved in the world of Scientology. After all, the so-called religion believes in reincarnation, and if that's true, then time travel is no longer an illogical concept. How long has John Travolta been around, and why doesn't he seem to be aging so nicely? While cosmetic surgery has come a long way in recent years, is this really the secret to John's youth, or is there something else at play here? Does this photo prove that time travel is possible? As we become the Photoshop generation, we know that pictures may not tell the full story when it comes to history or mysterious events that have been posted online. It's so easy to edit a photo and make it appear to show something that never happened. But there are pictures that are so old and can't be found in official textbooks that we can say nothing has been edited here, and these photos are completely legitimate. That is also the case with this image. As you can see, a man is sitting down, relaxed on a stone ledge, and just looking towards the camera. But something is very strange about this man. Is it just me, or does the man seem totally out of place? He's wearing a sports shirt, baggy pants, and no hat. Instead, he lets the wind blow through his oddly modern hairstyle, which also doesn't match the time period in which the photo was taken. To his right, a woman points her finger at him, and on the left, a man looks over at him very excitedly. It seems as if the man came from another time, and those around him are just now noticing. This also makes sense because if he were just an everyday man, why would someone have taken a photo of him in the first place? Did the U.S. discover time travel during the Cold War? A U.S. lawyer by the name of Andrew Basiago has been trying to uncover the truth about the Pegasus project for some time. This was a top-secret U.S. mission during the Cold War. The whole purpose of the project was to find a way to manipulate the space-time continuum so that the United States could win the war against Russia. To make things even stranger, Basiago himself claimed that he was sent back in time to attend Abraham Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address in 1863. His father also knew about this and worked on the project until it was discontinued in 1968, as it was deemed far too dangerous. Apparently, scientists used Einstein's theory of relativity and the possibility of wormholes to allow people to travel through time. It may sound completely insane, but why would a seasoned, educated lawyer with stories like this voluntarily damage his reputation in such a serious way? Does this punk come from another time? A few short glances are enough for you to see that this photo is definitely from another period of time. The way people are dressed, the horses, the carriages, the boats and houses, everything indicates that this image was captured long ago. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of daily life, another person joins in on this photo, but he doesn't really fit in with everyone else. A man can be seen in the middle of this photo who is referred to as the punk by people who first noticed him. Again, it's difficult to understand why this person, many decades before the punk movement, was walking around with such a haircut and wearing a sleeveless shirt and suspenders. It's unlikely to be someone who was simply 70 years ahead of the punk trend. This image really helps explain the theories surrounding time travelers, as it seems incredibly strange that a man would expose himself to such ridicule at the time, simply to sport such an odd and off-the-wall haircut and clothing style. But again, stranger things have happened. What is this man holding in his hand on the beach? Similar to the previous photo, which shows an Indian who appears to be holding a smartphone, the man in this photo is also looking at a strange object in his hand that looks shockingly like a modern piece of tech. One thing is clear, here too the picture shows that it came from another time period. It was shot in September of 1943, and again, the person stands out not only because of their behavior, but also because of their strange clothes that don't really fit into the style of the time period. In addition to this, the man in the photo looks suspiciously downwards, and in his entire posture from body to hands is reminiscent of a smartphone user that you may see on every street corner today. If it's not a cell phone, what else could he be holding in his hands? There were no Game Boys at the time, nor were there any other portable gadgets or computers. Who knows what this man may be up to? But it certainly doesn't seem logical that he'd just be looking at a rock or any other handheld object from that time period. Did Charlie Chaplin witness a time traveler? In 2010, a clip was uploaded to YouTube showing a largely unknown scene from the film The Circus. This was a classic movie starring Charlie Chaplin. But here too a person appears who, in a strange way, seems as if she doesn't belong there. The woman you see in the background is holding a strange device to her ear. It looks just like a smartphone, or at the very least a cell phone. Cell phones were obviously not around when this movie was filmed. Released back in 1928, it was a very different time for most people, and the idea of a mobile telephone would not pop up for another 50 years. Some experts say that this is some kind of hearing aid device and would have been very popular at the time. But what would this woman be trying to hear? The sounds of a busy street and traffic? Who knows, but this definitely looks like a cell phone to me. Has this hipster traveled back in time? We still have one last example for you of a completely strange-looking person in an old photo. This photo made its way around the internet recently because it was confirmed to be a legitimate, unedited photograph. This 1941 photo shows what is probably the first hipster in world history. He's in a small crowd of people on the day the South Fork Bridge opened in British Columbia. As you can see, he stands out because he's wearing sunglasses that are far too modern. He's also wearing a shirt that seems to have a printed logo on it, something that would not become popular for another 40 to 50 years. There have been many attempts to explain this photo over the years. One of the more popular theories claims that sunglasses like this would have existed at the time, but they would have been incredibly expensive. The same theory goes for his t-shirt and camera. Cameras like this would have also existed, but would have cost hundreds of dollars. His t-shirt could very well be a luxury item as well, with the logo on the front being hand-stitched rather than printed. Is Nicolas Cage a vampire? This is yet another photo that was sold on eBay a while back. For a massive $1 million, you could buy a picture of a person who lived in 1870 and looks exactly like Nicolas Cage. It's not known whether he simply shared the same gene pool or if this person could be a distant relative of Nicolas. However, the most likely solution seems to be obvious. Like John Travolta, Nicolas Cage may have the gift of traveling through time. Other sources are firmly convinced that Nicolas Cage is a vampire or even a zombie, but this seems a bit far-fetched. However, this would explain his odd behavior over the years, characterized by eccentric outbursts and